that one belief eliminated from your brain could change the course of your reality. Would you want that? It's not for everyone, only the brave. Those who want to own their life like the powerful leaders they were born to be. A pivotal moment can change everything. Now, here's the host of Crossroads to Awakening show, Wendy Paquette.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Crossroads to Awakening show. I'm your host, Wendy Paquette. I am a holographic mind reprogrammer, helping humans stuck at a crossroads awaken to their true selves and change the world from where they stand. Because I believe as a high frequency human, how you see your world and your life is a direct reflection of all the programs that are etched into your brain. And those can be easily shifted when you see your truth for what it is. So if you want to access your true self, find me on Facebook at the Crossroads to Awakening show. So I wanted to add something to that. We're looking at now the timelines of where we're living. So there's a more spectacular way to even see where you're at and change it, because timelines are crossing, they're folding, they're in and out, and they're quite frankly choosable. You can choose the timeline you want to be on. The difference is you get to see it. And so there is a process to do this. And I have exciting news to say that I have been able to teach it to others, create it for others, and it involves channeling your soul. So be sure to reach out to me so you can learn more. So today we have a magnificent episode called How to Have It All and Love Your Life. And of course, why would you think I would even title it that? Right? Why would you want to love your life and have it all? Because it's truly possible and it could be easy. And this frequency in this day and age in this timeline, we can, because things manifest really, really quickly. But you get to transmute those frequencies, those belief systems, those programs that prevent you from believing that, or even accessing that part of you. If you have a program that's running that says there's no way on God's green earth that that's possible, guess what? Doesn't matter how hard you try, you are not going to access it. And that's the unfortunate truth about all of it. You can attempt manifesting all you want, but if you have a belief system that doesn't actually believe it's possible, you are screwed. So let's shift from being screwed to being completely abundant in every way possible. And let's look at what the timelines look at for you to have everything you've ever wanted and love your life at the same time, because it is truly possible, even when you're in a pandemic. So let me see how loving your life is possible is you get to decide what life it is you want to live. I mean, I know that sounds cliche, but if I sat down with you right now and I asked you, what is the ultimate life you would like to be living right now? My unfortunate guess would be that at least 95% of you, 95% of us, I'll include myself in that mix, doesn't really know. You think you know, because you're headed somewhere every single day. Every minute, every hour, you've got something going on. No matter what day it is, you know there's something happening, whether it's on the weekend, you're going to spend time with family and friends, or during the week, when you're committed to your entrepreneurial pathway or your beautiful job or career, you are going somewhere. But do you know what you're creating your life to look like? There's a humongous difference between living in that life or living in a life and creating the life that you would actually like to live, the experiential part of that. So I know it sounds cliche. It really does, but it's not. It's an unfortunate truth, because if 90, 95, even 98% of us don't know what we want, none of us are going anywhere. So let's start with the clarity of what's possible. What would you imagine that one thing would be what you would want to live in your life, you'd want to experience as your ultimate life? Would it be your family, a family, having a family, creating a family? There's so many ways to perceive that. Would it be having more time with your family if you've already created a family and you're living in that world, but you're not actually creating valuable time with them? Would it be maybe you have done a wonderful job in creating time with your family, and now you'd like to actually lean into a successful career or having an successful business as an entrepreneur? Whatever that looks like, you get to lean into the category and decide. Just one thing is all we're asking here. Just pick one thing. And once you've created that one thing, one pathway, and you're looking at it, now you get to detail it out, right? So what is the one thing I know for sure I would like to experience in my ultimate life? And then start mapping it out on a piece of paper, like write it down. Maybe it's like I am experiencing myself wanting to lean into family, whether it's creating a family or spending more time with family or creating more quality with your family. Maybe you spend time with them, but it's not quality time. I mean, there's a difference, right? So when you're choosing family as the pathway, I mean, all along, we know, and I am certain of this, in your heart of hearts, family is always number one. If you're asked, family is always number one. But do you actually live the lifestyle where your family is number one? Do you spend special time with each child? Do you reach out to your parents if they live, if you're obviously not living with them? Do you reach out to them to create that connection, to just, find out what's going on in their world? Or if you have younger children, are you spending quality time with them, even just getting down on the floor and playing, right? Not just for 5 minutes, but a deliberate hour or so, just you being a kid again, being a kid with them. So there's all kinds of way to create time with family, or maybe it's actually spending time with all of your family, creating an event where we get together and spend time together and actually look in each other's faces, and not with a mask on, but really truly see each other, because, we've all been deprived of that for such a very long time now. So whatever it looks like, be intentional and deliberate about what you're seeing, because in this reality right now, we are absolutely creating quicker than ever before. So much faster that all your thoughts are being manifest, whether you like it or not. So all the negative thoughts you've been having, or if you find yourself sometimes falling into that swirl of negativity, like perhaps one of your friends posted something online or on Facebook or something, and you listen to it or you hear it and suddenly you agree with it. And then now you're finding yourself feeling the same way, and you're then drawing in all the details of why you feel that way and what it would look like differently, but you're really swirling in that maybe not so exciting space. And the thoughts that you're creating from those moments of being in that space are what's being manifest. So if you're finding yourself frustrated and feeling controlled, or feeling like this lockdown is, and if you live in Ontario, it's quite a doozy. If you're feeling like the lockdown is really suffocating you or stifling you, right? Or, locking you in, and maybe you're feeling depressed or anxious, you're going to create that experience full body, heart and soul. You're going to find yourself stepping further and further into that rabbit hole of shit. And let's face it, no one wants to be there. And you might not realize that that's what you're creating, but you are simply manifesting the thoughts that are in your mind, in your head, as you swirl them about and then think of more things to attach them to. So that is manifestation at its fastest, right? Creating the moment where the emotions become you, and then your situations reflect that. Those then are the programs that you are living in. And somehow everywhere you look now, you're going to identify with something that connects with that emotion, right? That space you were just in. And, unfortunately, it further deepens that thought, that experience. And in your mind, it further solidifies your truth about it, or so it seems. And that is the rabbit hole that we are going down so very quickly in this day and age right now with the frequency that we're in. And let's face it, we get to celebrate the frequency that we're in. It is high vibe, manifest quickly. But as quickly as we're going to manifest something beautiful, we can also manifest something crappy. And that is the space that a lot of us find ourselves in a moment, just in a moment, just in a mere reading of a Facebook post by one of your friends who is well-meaning, I'm sure, expressing themselves outwardly and creating a cesspool of shit that we all fall into because we have such big, beautiful hearts. So let's get clear on what we really, really want, because when we do, guess what else manifests? Yeah, you got it. All of it. the feeling of it, the experience of it, the solidification of it, the truth of it, the program of it, right? If you're going to create a program, best create a great one, right? Why would you want to create one that's feeling horrible? Why don't you create a great one? So if you happen to see a post on Facebook that's negative, what would it feel like to instantaneously flip to the opposite of what that was? So yes, maybe, someone is feeling like this is really stifling their creativity by being locked inside. Perhaps you take that and go, yeah, what if, right? Or wouldn't it be nice if that actually was the gateway to all of your creativity? And being in that lockdown actually tightened so tight that a diamond burst forth and created from that space all around the globe, right? Art pieces came out of you like crazy, like you've never seen before, with high vibrational connection, soul connection. That would be a manifestation that you could get excited about. And I'm here to tell you it's completely possible, but you're in charge. Our human capacity for free will allows us to choose anything we want to choose. And so in that space, that you now know that you're creating in every second you're thinking or being or experiencing, you get to be in charge of what the next move is, right? Every single moment of every single day moving forward, because everyone around you is subject to what you're creating. And as you are what they're creating. So your strength and capacity moving forward gets to be focused on what you really want. And if you must create signposts for yourself in order to remember what it is that you would really want, then do so. So if it's spending more quality time with your family, or really reconnecting with your immediate family that you never see. So say your sibling, your brother or sisters who live not in your household, but outside of your household, write it on a sticky note and stick it on your computer or on your mirror in the bathroom, right? Or on the wall somewhere where you do your bills, where you're going to look at it. But be intentional about what you're creating. So every time you see it, you can think, yeah, you know what? I'm going to call my brother today. Oh, you know what? I'm going to create a lunch where we can get together and spend some quality time. Even if it's, even if we're in the lockdown and we get to like create a secret lunch together, we get to reconnect and remind each other that we've got each other's back, right? We're here for each other. And that's what family's for. Someone you know that you can count on forever and ever. Amen. At least that's the prayer. So now that we're sourcing clarity for ourselves and family, as I chose that pathway just to talk about it, how many things in your world do you really want that you could talk about all day long, that you could write down on a list and be deliberate in your intentions to manifest that in your reality? Because there's so many categories that we can lean into, but pick one and be deliberate so that you can see the fruits of your labor and the manifestations that are instantaneous, because they are. And the only way to find out that truth is by creating it. I mean, literally, if you look at what I was speaking into earlier about creating and manifesting something from a negative experience from a post that a well-meaning friend probably posted on Facebook, you know darn well that you've pulled yourself into a shitty space because you started thinking about all the limitations that this pandemic might have created, or all the being boxed in or being stifled or being controlled, all those things. And you pulled yourself into that space, and you know darn well what I'm talking about. We've all done it. It's not, it's like not a hard thing because it's everywhere, right? It's everywhere we look. So it takes real effort and energy to be deliberate in what we're creating. And not only can you create that from your thoughts, you can also go into a pattern and a pathway of meditation. And there are some really cool ways that you can go into meditations, walking or waking meditations, and delete that post that you looked at in your mind and in your field of energy and create instantaneously from that space. So we get to look at that. And that could very well be a timeline jump for you, right? So we lean into what timeline jumping looks like. We also attach that to how we can have it all and love your life at the same time too. Because if you're not liking what's on this timeline, we certainly can shift the timeline. And only you can do that, right? When you have the ability to actually channel your soul, look at your timelines and shift it to a new timeline. You can even look at the timelines, good, bads, and uglies, and decide from there, right? Do I really want to shift this timeline, or am I just making shit up? So there's a lot more for us here. We're sourcing ultimate clarity and having everything. But you're listening to the Crossroads to Awakening show, and we're going to go into our break. And I really want you just to write down one thing that you really want to experience in your life. If you could experience it every day, write it down. What is it that you really, really want to experience? And let's get ultimate clarity on this so that you can manifest instantaneously. So let's walk into a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about what it looks like coming out of experiencing this true manifestation. So we'll see you in a minute.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the Crossroads to Awakening.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Crossroads to Awakening show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the Crossroads to Awakening show. And I just wanted to let you know that we have a brand new thing at Inspired Choices Network. We now have our very own mobile app. You can download the mobile app at Apple or Android, wherever you pull down your apps from, on your phone or on your tablet or whatever that looks like. But you can get all of our beautiful shows and all of our hosts on the app and listen live every single day and listen to every episode they've done prior to this one. So feel free to download that and have fun. We'll see you there. So let's get back into what we were speaking into. Let's put yourself in the space of having everything you've ever wanted, having it all. And when I say it all, I mean it all, not leaving a damn thing out, and loving your life because we get to, right? Unless you don't want to. Of course, we have the choice of that too, right? So it's not like we have to have a life, a life we love. If you want a life you love, you can have one. If you already live a life you love, great, awesome. Please share with us what you're up to, what you're doing, and how we can celebrate with you. And if you don't, know you're not alone and that there is possibilities everywhere that you can shift. You just get to commit to it. So let's look at timeline shifting. For me, I had the most beautiful experience in timeline shifting while working with a former client who we actually wrote a book together, and it's called The Grid, and it will be out probably within the next quarter, maybe 3 months. We discovered that the planets you can see with your eyes, like visibly with your eyes, the furthest planet is Saturn. And to Saturn, you see all the 3D reality that is. So there's all kinds of cosmology that goes along with your experience in a 3D world. And a 3D world, meaning the laws of duality, are very prevalent, or are the laws. So you have good and bad, up and down, in and out, all those things. And you have a life you love and one you don't, right? The opposite is true. And as a human, we have choice. And living in a 3D programmable space, you're choosing in every given moment which program to turn on and turn off. So if you knew that you were living a life that you didn't love and there wasn't the exact opposite available, wouldn't you want to do what you could to find out how to have it, right? how to turn off the programs that weren't working, or even how to shift timelines so that just hopping a timeline was merely blinking and you were on a different timeline where things were experienced differently. Now, I've had the opportunity to experience teaching this to others. It's channeling your soul is where we were headed with our group experience, where you could where I can actually see the timelines now. It was a year of myself being in practice and learning about it and actually doing it, but seeing people's timelines and then seeing what's in the way from them channeling their soul, which gives you access to what you truly desire in this reality, not what you think you want, but what you truly desire. And when you discover what that is, you can then have anything you want and shift the timelines yourself because you can see it, right? You're being in that space where all things are possible, from looking at where you're at, looking at the timelines in a meditative state or not in a meditative state even, and shifting them to something that's working for you. It's a choice, and it's really turning some programs on and off, which is also something that you can learn to see once you're channeling your soul. So let's talk about the timeline shifting even further. If you knew that a timeline shift wasn't scary and it was a step in a direction, a step in a direction, a step in a direction, like if you could keep stepping further and further into the world and the life that you know that you'd like to create or that you would love. I say like because most people have trouble moving from something they do not like to something they love. So we'll step into the like space and then into the love space. You could shift and see all the conflicts that would arise for you if you moved from one timeline to the next. Now, it could be something very small, or it could be something really large. You wouldn't really know unless you were looking at the timeline and looked at the conflicts that were in the way. If you knew the conflict was that you were going to shift jobs because all along you were choosing a job that you really didn't love, would you then choose it still? Or would you stay? Right? Would you stay because of the money? Would you stay because of the habit? Would you stay because it was familiar? Or would you choose to shift it and see what happened? Because what might happen is the things you really love or the things that you're really, really good at and you think everybody can do because, you know, it's so simple for you. It must be simple for everybody else. What if that became the job that generated the lifestyle that you absolutely loved? You met all the people that you then were like enamored by because they were so magnificent. Maybe if you weren't in a relationship, you actually discovered a relationship in that same space because you were willing to shift timelines and leave behind what wasn't actually working for you. And that's also what I call the space of alignment. When you know that you're in alignment with something, you know, there's something about it. It doesn't feel like there's anything in the way. It doesn't feel like something would stop you. It just feels like a clear pathway. Excuse me. When I say clear, I mean, if you imagined yourself living in that space and wandering towards something, you didn't feel this big, like, ew, that something doesn't feel right feeling. You felt an open, clear space of, yeah, well, that feels kind of like easy. There doesn't feel like anything's in the way. It's literally as simple as that, right? So let's then lean into talking about your intuition. You know, the intuition everybody talks about sounds a little bit foo-foo-y or not. You know, we used to liken it to mother's intuition because it was so powerful, but we left it at the mother's. We didn't say anything about father's intuition or child's intuition or natural intuition. But intuition is simply that, being able to experience situations in your life prior to experiencing them, like prior to actually stepping into them. So having a knowing about something that feels either aligned or misaligned, right? So I'm shifting the words from good or bad to aligned being the good aspect and misaligned being the not so good aspect. Because when you feel aligned, you get to keep going forward because the pathway is clear for you. It's clear. You don't need to know why it's clear or, you know, what the things are in the way or weren't in the way or why they're not in the way. You just get to know that it's clear for you because you're the one creating. When there's something in the way, that's when you can ask some more questions. If you feel clear, no, like, no, that's just a no, a hell no for me, then it's a misalignment and you can shift to something else and keep going. So we're speaking about alignment. We're speaking about, that's where I lean into 100% versus 99%, right? So 100% is alignment, 99 is out of alignment. And then you're looking at intuition, which is giving you the indicators of whether you're feeling or experiencing alignment or misalignment. Now, if you allow yourself to be in that space, which you can, so let's take, if you chose something that you really, really wanted, if you think about actually being in the space where you were living it from where you are now. So imagine yourself energetically walking into the space where you're, whatever you chose, that's on your, I must have, or I would like to experience. So earlier I used the example of family. If you're choosing family and you think in your imagination, you're going to walk into family, experiencing your family from a quality space, right? Creating quality time with them or creating experiences with them. Do you feel aligned or misaligned? Right? You're going to use your intuition now to lean into that space. If you feel misaligned, then you get to ask more questions. If you feel aligned, the next step is action. Creating an action. What would it feel like to actually be aligned and moving forward into a space where you can access what you really want? Action is the key. Because you can think about what you want all day long, and maybe you don't know what you want, and that's most of us. But when you have some semblance of clarity, when you're like, yeah, you know what, I do really want that. The next move is action. To shift yourself into a different experience, action is required. Whether it's physical action, mental action, picking up the phone would be a mental and physical action, and setting up something with your family so that you could create it together. Or even maybe you haven't connected with your family in such a long time, you get to create connection first, but you get to follow your instincts. So when you're looking at timelines, you're looking at how big is the desire for what you really want and how close do you feel it is? Because timeline hops can be very short, right? They can be very, very short. So if you're feeling like you can't connect to yourself, that would be a conversation in, what's in the way from you channeling your soul. I mean, that's something that you can ask yourself and try to maybe automatic write or connect with someone who could experience you and be truthful with you and see what's in the way. Like maybe you've been hiding from yourself most of your life and you don't realize it, or you could channel your soul. Find a way to channel your soul. I mean, there's all kinds of people out there that can move blocks. Myself, I can see the blocks and turn the programs on and off. So you can connect with me, whomever supports you, with channeling your soul so that you can experience your full alignment. That's what matters. And I'm speaking into the smallness, and I say smallness, of how we can shift our reality simply and easily. But if you think it doesn't ripple out to the world, you're mistaken. Because it truly does. It ripples out into the world in immense ways. So you're not only just shifting yourself, you are literally changing the world around you. So you're changing the world, right? So you're not just doing it for you. So for all you supporters out there who feel like you can't do something for yourself, that would be selfish. You want to support others, change your world to experience alignment, and that will support all the people in your reality, right? So if you need to lean into that aspect of it, you get to. So as we're talking about shifting timelines and channeling your soul, we started at the beginning where you get to get into clarity for yourself, then create alignment and use your intention to feel how close you are to experiencing what you really want once you've decided. And then based on that experience alone, you'll know whether you have some big stuff in the way or some small stuff. So how you experience that, that's what we'll talk about when we get back from the break. There are ways that you can experience a big block and a small block, because some of the blocks you have might just be merely you're just resisting picking up the phone. I would say that's a small block, meaning you could connect with your family members, using my earlier example, and create an experience with them. Or you could have a big block, which you go into a full-on panic attack when you think about picking up the phone. There's two completely different ways. So we're going to go into a break, and I want you to get real true clarity now. Again, lean into what you really, really want and write it down. Because when you write it down, you make it so. So make it juicy, make it beautiful, make it fun, make it completely outrageous. It doesn't have to be logical at all. Write it down on a piece of paper. Let's solidify it into this reality now so we can lean in. So right after the break, we'll talk about how you get into that space and what's next. So I'm looking forward to sharing that piece with you then. We'll see you in a minute.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the Crossroads to Awakening. This is the Crossroads to Awakening show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Now back to the program.
Hey, okay, now we're back. And what we really get to look at now is, did you add anything else to your list? Have you had any other inspirations or ideas or clarities around what you'd really want? Because that so matters. It matters so intensely, because if you don't know what you want, you can't have it, right? You can go about your automatic life every single day until the day you die and never really have what you want and always wonder why you didn't. And really all that stood in the way was clarity. So let's go back through the steps, getting clarity on what you want. Write it down, make it so, put it on a piece of paper, and then embellish what you want with the clarity. Who is it with? What does it look like? Like, what does your environment look like? Use all your senses, even the sixth one, and then lean into your intuition. What is your intuition telling you to add? Right? What else is there that you're not saying that you've always wanted to say, or you always wanted, but just felt maybe it was too much, right? So add in those intuitive hits and then put some intention underneath of that. What is the reason why you want it? I mean, you don't even have to have a reason, but most often it's to create something that's larger than life, like peace or joy, right? So add the intention underneath, you know, what this will create for you. And then we're going to lean into what the results look like, because there are all kinds of steps to get there. But what will your life actually look like when you have created that, when you step into it? Because if I said I would shift a program today so that you could step into that timeline to have the results that you're looking for, to experience the life that you want, what would that be? So yeah, maybe you want to create a deeper connection with your family. Maybe you want just to feel more at home again. You want to feel comfortable. Maybe they make you feel safe and you didn't even realize it. Or you might feel supported. When you feel all those things, what's next, right? What results get created out of that? Does your life look different? Is your experience of your own personal space different? Will you allow people in now? Perhaps that's what's been standing in the way, right? You're losing your sense of connection with other people. And so you really want that back. You call it back in. And what do you think happens, right? It will reflect in your outer world. And somehow you're actually going to be creating that result in your reality based on the mirror effect, right? How you be in your world internally is what you see in your world externally. So what does that look like for you? So if you're going to create from the space of relationships, if you don't have one, what would it look like to have one? Or if you're going to create business, a different aspect of business, or if you're going to create a new position in your job, or maybe it's just opening up and going all in on the job that you have currently already. I mean, what if you have your dream job and you're just not showing up fully for it? What would that look like? So leaning into what the results will create for you, now you're creating a visceral experience with the results, right? The second that you take an action that's different than what you've always done, you are setting yourself up to have a timeline jump. That's so incredibly easy. But you get to utilize the space of meditation. And if you've been listening to the shows at all, I use meditation lightly in that it's a different brainwave, right? It's a different frequency than when you're always in. I can literally meditate with my eyes open. So you don't have to be sitting in lotus position and meditate to call it meditation. You can actually be, well, unfortunately, sometimes driving a car and be an alpha. And I say unfortunately, because you want to be safe and you want to pay attention. You don't want to drive recklessly. But when I go for a drive, sometimes I go purposefully to create space. It seems strange, but it actually works for me. I've written the most amazing songs, poetry. I've had the most brilliant ideas. A lot of books have come out of that space, all because of focusing on one thing and letting my mind do something else, right? So I've got the automatic pilot going while I'm driving and I'm paying attention, but there's something about that space that allows me to be free. So the results I create when I gift myself meditation, and I'm air quoting meditation, is freedom, right? So we get to look at the word meditation differently and speak to ourselves differently from that space so that you can have more of what you're looking for. So when I lean back into some of the cosmology of how seeing Saturn, it like being the furthest planet we can see with our naked eye as humans, and all of the duality in the 3D existence that we're living, what do you think is beyond Saturn? The things we cannot see with our eyes. So if we can see to Saturn, and all the planets up until Saturn are 3D reality, because that's how far we can see with our eyes. That is our external world. 3D reality, laws of duality, all those things. Outside of those planets, beyond Saturn, we are then experiencing a 5D world, things that are internal. So then we realize, oh, the planets are actually inside of us. The planets are actually inside of us, because if our internal world creates our external world, then what we could see with our naked eye is actually from the inside, right? So I know that's quite a big thought process to really absorb, but imagine that we can see to that point, which means we can create to that point beyond our planet, beyond all those things. And outside of Saturn, the planets that are outside of that, the fifth dimensional, multi-dimensional planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, those planets can actually create a multi-dimensional experience. They will really, really be accessed by the inside of you as well. But they create something that's far beyond our 3D dimension. Something that where when we access those with our inner insight, we are able to see things outside of our current grasp, outside of our current sight, so to speak, right? So we allow ourselves to connect with Uranus and Neptune and Pluto. We are then accessing multi-dimensional worlds to create from spaces beyond the constructs of duality, right? So that's a whole new way of experiencing your world in a timeline when you reach out beyond that. And you can really only access that from your mind's eye, right? Using your inner sight to access those other planets. And in those other planets are all the keys to shifting timelines, right? So moving yourself from the space of being in the 3D reality to being in the 5D reality from that space. So I know I'm kind of going from one end to the other. I went from deciding what you want so that you can manifest to all the way outside the 3D planetary experience, which is outside Saturn, to realize that we now have access outside of that space with those planetary support system, I would say. They're maps to see, now we can look at the program from outside of the program. So if 3D is the program, which we're living right now, when we're living within the confines of the planets before Saturn, right, with the laws of duality, when we're experiencing 3D, all things physical, we then are in the program, which means we're living the program, we're creating the program, we're changing the program, we're living the program, we're just in the program. When you pop yourself outside of Saturn, outside of those planetary experiences, via your internal sight, you are then able to create from outside of the program. You are no longer in the program. You are actually outside of the program, viewing the whole thing, viewing the whole program, viewing the 3D reality, in which case you can see the timelines which you are in. You can also see timelines that you are not in. And you can see events, situations. You can go forward in the timelines and you can go backwards in the timelines. They're all available outside of the 3D programming, because when you're in it, it's really difficult to see something beyond what you already know. And it's also more difficult to accept it. But when you allow yourself to go outside of that 3D experience, beyond the planets of Saturn, the planet of Saturn, out into that space, into the fifth dimensional experience, you're now looking at what you created and can change it from that space. So that's why meditation to me is so exciting, because when you allow yourself to transcend the confines of a third dimensional experience, you are now in a space of pure possibility, pure multi-dimensional possibilities, right? You don't experience time in the same way, because you're looking at timelines now. You can jump into whatever timeline you'd like. You're now experiencing space in a different way, because your ability to create from that space is infinitesimal, because you're no longer in the program that limits you, right? You're in an infinite space of possibility, truly. So with that in mind, what would it take for you to really have a sheer desire to channel your soul, to pop yourself outside of the 3D reality, to change whatever it is you don't like, right? Change the timelines, hop the timelines, shift them, even if ever so slightly. Your choice, right? We're still connected in this human body. We still have the human potential of choice, and you can change as small of a timeline shift or as large of a timeline shift as you like. And that's really, really exciting. And so I've had that experience already, and it's happened with things that are completely undeniable. And I think last episode, I was speaking into the coffee experience, which was completely hysterical and is still true to this moment, is absolutely still true. And I know it came from a timeline hop, because none of the things that I was experiencing when I was drinking coffee, so like it was food, like I would die without it, I am now not even thinking, it doesn't even cross my mind that maybe once a day have I look at my coffee maker. So there's just clear indicators that something has shifted. And that's not the only thing. Everything that was connected for me drinking coffee, everything, my patterns, my habits, maybe even my connections with my friends used to be around meeting for coffee. All those things have shifted. And my capacity to see beyond where I could see before has also shifted, right? So I made a deliberate choice. I hopped a timeline for health. Health was my affirmation, for lack of a better word. And what occurred was magic, right? So many things has changed. If I could list them out there, I would. And it may not mean as much to you as it does for me, but boy, has it changed everything in my reality. Now, that's just one thing I've changed, right? Recently, I've changed many things, short little things along the way, but that is one thing that's really a game changer for me. And now I get to go back in whenever I want to shift things. Would you love to do that for yourself? Is my question. Not everybody will. And that's okay. There's not a judgment in that space, but you have access to it. And that's what you get to know. So as we're walking into this last break, this episode has gone so quickly, almost like we've time shifted while we've been in the space talking about it. We'll come back on the opposite side of this commercial break, and we'll speak into how you can have access to that timeline shift as well. So you can jump in and shift anything you want. And if you believe you can't, I'll tell you how you can. So let's walk into a break, Christine. We are listening to the Crossroads to Awakening show on the Inspired Choices Network. And I'm Wendy Paquette, your timeline shifting host. So we will see you in just a minute.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the Crossroads to Awakening. This is the Crossroads to Awakening show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Now back to the program.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. I just wanted to say a little shout out to Erin in the chat room. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate your presence. It's so lovely to have connections in the chat room and be able to be in real time with people. So nice to have you. So thank you. So let's talk about how you can shift your timelines too, because the episode title is How to Have It All and Love Your Life. And you so can. It's not impossible. It's completely possible when you learn what's true for you. And I've been speaking about this for many, many years. It's been near 8 years, 1 year on the Crossroads to Awakening show as a host, and 7 years doing this work in person with one-on-ones and in groups. And what I know for certain is that the programs that we have in our brains are real. 3D programs are real, and they're indicated by your emotions, right? Your emotions are telling you what's up. And those are the things I'm certain can be shifted. Your emotions 100% can be eliminated. And I don't mean that you become emotionless. I mean that it transmutes into source energy, which is joy, sheer joy. So imagine shifting some of those, most of those, or all of those negative experiences that bring up negative emotions or really extremely detrimental emotions to your reality and shifting them into source energy. That's one way you can access a different reality for yourself. The other way is to connect with me so we can get the programs out of the way so that you can channel your soul. Once you allow yourself, and I say allow because there's probably programs in there you don't even know about, but you can channel your soul so that you can see the timelines because your soul knows all this information. You have access to every last blip of it. And you can choose. As a human, we have this beautiful thing called free will, free choice. Even in a pandemic, we still have free choice. We're still here living, eating, breathing, thriving in whatever we choose to thrive in, and get this, you can thrive in negativity or you can thrive in positivity. It is a choice. You can look at it from the negative perspective. And as I said earlier, fly down the rabbit hole of shit if you want to. Because maybe, okay, I shift the word want to if you happened to, or you can choose to look at it from a completely different perspective because you said so and create from that space and literally experience what you want. It is possible, 100% possible. And I live in that reality. So I know that it's true. And I've supported many people to shift out of their stuff, shift out of their negative emotions, step into a multidimensional experience. And lately shift timelines and channel their soul. And it's going to be very evident in the book that comes out. We call the grid. I say it is one of my partners who is a former client, as well as source energy channeled through as the soul of both of us, which is freaking spectacular. So information was delivered directly from source, right? And it was a magnificent experience. It still is. every single day we get information that allows us to support other people to channel their soul. Most often it's going to be because you've decided you want that experience, not because it's needed. Nothing on this planet is needed. What we get to have is choice. So it's needed. Okay. Yeah. People need certain things. It's kind of a rhetorical thing that we say, but what if all the choices that we know are ours are made in that moment's awareness? And those are the choices that are creating other things. And it's just a spin-off of all possibilities, because it is. Because in a different timeline, other things have occurred, right? Maybe in this timeline, I have a radio show. In another timeline, I don't. Or in a further timeline out, I have both. Or maybe I never even was made aware of a radio show in another timeline. Every single timeline is subtly different in so many ways. And the timelines are virtually infinite. So whatever one you'd like to jump on, you're in charge of. And you can choose and you can move. And it is possible. And it has happened with other people that I've worked with. So it's not an anomaly. It is a choice. And I get to say this because it's true. It's a luxury choice, because you don't need it. You can have it if you want it, right? Or if you desire it, or if you're craving it, or if you want to have some fun, if you want to play, or if you just feel like you want something different. It's something that you think you need because it's a luxury. It's not an actual need. It's a luxury. And so in that space of luxury, choose what you want, right? Create from that space. Imagine what that experience would be like. So there's a new YouTube channel coming out that's going to have channelings on it with all these possibilities, so that we can create this with everyone without having to charge a fortune for it. Everybody gets to channel their soul. That's a choice that everyone has. It is a luxury. It's not a need. And so you'll never, for the rest of my days, hear me say that you need to change anything. You can if you want to. And if you do, the gateway is open, right? You just get to walk through it and choose it. Is it comfortable? I don't know. That's all going to be up to you. So if you'd like to experience any of what I've been talking about today, then you get to reach out to me. You can email me at wendybrunerpaquette@gmail.com, or find me. The easiest way would be to look up my website, wendypaquette.com, and it's Wendy with a Y, PAQUETTE.com, and go on there and send me a message. Or on Facebook, you will find me there at Crossroads to Awakening Show, or Wendy Paquette, and reach out and let's play together, because the choice is absolutely yours. No one is in need of anything. You get to create from where you stand. And that is what makes the difference in this reality. When you are finally tired of living in this reality under the scrutiny and the judgment of yourself, you get to walk into your bathroom and look into the mirror and give yourself a swift talking to and choose something different, because that's what's available. It's as simple as that. It's you connecting to you. And then you get to channel your soul, which will give you access to everything. You want to feel alignment or misalignment, 99% or 100%. It is extremely available and completely like a notice moment for you when you know exactly where to go and when. So it has been my absolute pleasure to spend this hour with you. I'm so grateful to be able to pull forward all of this information and play in this space. It is a sheer joy to be here with everyone and channel my own soul, come from that space of sheer possibility and let my mouth open and the information float through. It's not coming from my brain. It's coming from the soul of me, right? Which is an infinite possibility. So I would love to share that experience with you and what's truly possible. So just lean in and find a way to find me so that you can have that experience as well. So we'll be really excited for next week's episode, which will be my final week on the Inspired Choices Network, where from that space of creation, there is all possibilities, because I will always be around somewhere, because there's a new show everywhere you look. And I absolutely have new shows coming out. So find me YouTube is the place to be. Look up Wendy Paquette. This is the Inspired Choices Network, and you're listening to me. Have a great day, and thanks for listening.
Thank you for choosing to listen to the Crossroads to Awakening radio show. Wendy Paquette will return next Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We look forward to you joining us again. Until then, enjoy your journey, and we'll meet you at the crossroads.